Hey there, friends. Picture this. You're boarding a plane, tired from a long day, maybe a little annoyed about the middle seat you got stuck with, and you glance at the stranger sitting next to you. Just another face in the crowd, right? Someone you'll probably never see again after you land. But what if that random seat assignment wasn't just a coincidence? What if that moment, that fleeting encounter at 30,000 feet, was the start of something so life-changing that it would lead two strangers from assigned seats to sharing a home? Welcome to my channel, where today, I'm diving into an incredible true story that's going to make you believe in fate, love, and the wild unpredictability of life. This is the story of they were assigned seats together on a plane, now they share a home. And trust me, you're not going to want to click away, because I'm about to unravel a tale that's equal parts heartwarming, surprising, and just a little bit mysterious. You're here because you're curious, maybe even a hopeless romantic or someone who loves a good twist, and I promise you by the end of this video, you'll have the answers to the questions burning in your mind right now. How did two strangers go from a cramped airplane cabin to building a life together? What happened on that flight to spark something so powerful? So grab a cozy blanket, settle in, and let's take this journey together. Because this story is going to hit you right in the feels, and I'm betting you'll stick with me until the very last second to find out how it all unfolds. Now, let me set the scene for you. Imagine a chilly winter morning at a bustling airport in Chicago. The terminal is alive with the hum of travelers, families rushing to catch holiday flights, business people glued to their phones, and the occasional solo adventurer with a backpack and a dream. Among this sea of faces are two people who have no idea their lives are about to collide in the most unexpected way. Meet Sarah, a 29-year-old graphic designer from Seattle, who's flying to New York for a big pitch that could make or break her career. She's nervous, a little sleep-deprived, and definitely not in the mood for small talk with a stranger. Then there's Jake, a 32-year-old firefighter from Denver, heading to the same city for a much-needed vacation after a grueling year on the job. He's laid back, quick with a smile, but carrying a quiet weight of his own, a story of loss and resilience he doesn't share with just anyone. They're two ordinary people, each caught up in their own world, with no reason to think this flight will be anything more than a few hours of awkward silence or polite nods. But life, as you know, has a funny way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. And trust me, what happens next is going to make you rethink every boring, plane ride you've ever taken. Have you ever wondered if the universe has a plan for you? Like, maybe that annoying delay or that random seatmate is part of something bigger. Stick with me, because Sarah and Jake's story is going to make you wonder. Let's talk about you for a second. Yeah, you, watching this video right now. Maybe you're scrolling through YouTube because you're looking for something to lift your spirits, or maybe you're just killing time before bed. Either way, you're here because stories like this one pull at something deep inside us. We all want to believe in those movie-like moments where everything changes in an instant, where a chance meeting turns into something extraordinary. That's what makes this story so special. It's not just about Sarah and Jake. It's about the possibility that any of us could stumble into a moment that rewrites our future. I mean, think about it. When was the last time you had a conversation with a stranger that left you thinking about it for days? Maybe it was a kind word from a barista or a shared laugh with someone in a waiting room. Those little moments stick with us, don't they? They remind us that human connection is what makes life worth living. And that's exactly what this story is about. Connection, serendipity, and the kind of spark that can turn a mundane day into the start of something unforgettable. I'm telling you this because I want you to feel it, to imagine yourself in Sarah or Jake's shoes, to wonder what you'd do if you were the one in that airplane seat. Keep watching, because I'm going to peel back the layers of this story, and I promise, there's a moment coming that'll make your jaw drop. So, what's the vibe of this story? It's warm, it's real, and it's got just enough mystery to keep you guessing. Think of it like a cozy rom-com with a twist. Less predictable Hollywood fluff and more like the kind of story you'd hear from a friend over coffee, the kind that makes you lean in and say, "No way, what happened next?" There's love, sure, but it's not just about romance. It's about two people finding something they didn't even know they were looking for. Maybe healing, maybe hope, maybe a second chance at life. The atmosphere is a mix of that nervous excitement you get when you're about to board a flight and the quiet intimacy of being stuck next to someone for hours, with nowhere to go but into a conversation. There's a conflict here too, though I'm not going to spoil it just yet. Let's just say that Sarah and Jake each bring their own baggage. Emotional, not just carry on. And the path from that plane ride to sharing a home isn't as simple as it sounds. There are obstacles, doubts, and moments that'll make you wonder if they're really meant to be. But that's what makes this story so gripping. It's not a straight line from point A to point B. It's messy, it's human, and it's going to keep you hooked because you'll want to know how they overcome it all. Here's the thing. I could tell you right now what happened on that flight, but where's the fun in that? I want you to feel the anticipation, to lean into the mystery like you're right there with Sarah and Jake, wondering what's going to happen next. Were they instant soulmates, or did something else spark between them? Was it a single conversation, a shared fear of turbulence, or something totally unexpected that changed everything? You're going to find out, I promise, but you've got to stick with me. This isn't just a story about two people falling in love, it's about how life can surprise you when you're not looking, how a single moment can shift your entire world. And let's be real, who doesn't love a good love story with a twist? You're already invested, aren't you? I can feel it. You're wondering how these two went from strangers to sharing a home, and maybe you're even thinking about your own life, those little, what-if moments that could have gone differently. That's why I'm asking you to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and keep watching, because the next part of this story is where things get really juicy. Picture this, the plane starts to taxi, Sarah's clutching her notebook, Jake's cracking a joke to ease the tension, and then, something happens that neither of them saw coming. What was it? You'll have to stay tuned to find out. Alright, friends, let's pick up right where we left off, with Sarah and Jake on that plane, the engines humming as it taxis down the runway, and something unexpected about to unfold. You're probably sitting there, wondering what could possibly happen in the confines of an airplane cabin to turn two strangers' lives upside down. I get it, that curiosity is why you're still here, and I'm not going to leave you hanging, but I'm also not spilling all the tea just yet. This story is like a perfectly brewed cup of coffee. You've got to savor it slowly to appreciate the full flavor. So let's dive deeper into who Sarah and Jake are, what brought them to this moment, and the little sparks of mystery that make their story so much more than a chance encounter. As the plane lifts off, carrying them toward New York, there's a subtle shift in the air. Not just the cabin pressure, but something electric, something that makes you lean forward and wonder if fate is about to play its hand. Stick with me, because this tale of love, serendipity, and hidden secrets is about to get even more intriguing, and I promise you're going to want to see where it leads. Sarah's no stranger to pressure. As a graphic designer in Seattle, she spent years hustling in a competitive industry, pouring her heart into every pixel and color palette. She's got a knack for turning chaos into beauty. But her own life? That's a bit messy, eh? She's 29, single, and still figuring out what she wants beyond the next deadline. This trip to New York is a big deal, a pitch for a major client that could land her promotion and maybe, just maybe, a chance to prove to herself she's got what it takes to make it big. But there's something else weighing on her, something she doesn't talk about much. A year ago, she lost her older sister, Emily, in a car accident, and the grief still lingers like a shadow she can't shake. It's why she's clutching that notebook so tightly as the plane takes off. It's not just full of sketches for her pitch. It's got pages of unsent letters to Emily, words she wishes she'd said when she had the chance. Sarah's not looking for love or even a meaningful conversation on this flight. She's got her earbuds ready, her focus locked on the presentation, and a quiet hope that the guy in the window seat won't try to chat her up. But life, as you know, doesn't always care about your plans. Have you ever been so focused on one thing that you almost miss something amazing right in front of you? That's Sarah right now, and it's about to make this flight unforgettable. Jake, on the other hand, is the kind of guy who seems to roll with whatever life throws at him. A firefighter from Denver, he's used to running toward danger while everyone else runs away. At 32, he's got that rugged charm. Think flannel shirts and a smile that could calm a panicked crowd. But beneath the easygoing vibe, Jake's carrying his own scars. Last year, he was on a call that went wrong. A house fire where he couldn't save everyone, and the weight of that failure still haunts him. He doesn't talk about it, not even to his buddies at the station, but it's why he's on this plane, heading to New York for a break from the sirens and the smoke. He's got a friend in Brooklyn who's promised him a week of bar hopping and Knicks games, but deep down, Jake's searching for something more, a way to feel alive again, to quiet the guilt that creeps in when he's alone. As he settles into his window seat, he notices Sarah next to him, her nose buried in that notebook, and he can't help but crack a small joke about the in-flight snacks to break the ice. She barely looks up, but there's a flicker of a smile, and that's enough to make Jake curious. What's her story? Why is she so guarded? And why does he feel like this flight might be more than just a trip across the country? You ever meet someone and just know there's more to them than they're letting on? That's what Jake's feeling, and it's about to pull him into something bigger than he expected. As the plane cruises at 30,000 feet, something small but significant happens. The flight hits a pocket of turbulence. Nothing major, just enough to make the cabin lights flicker and the seatbelt sign ping on. Sarah grips her notebook a little tighter, her knuckles white, and Jake, sensing her nerves, leans over with another light-hearted comment. "Don't worry if we go down, I'll make sure we get the good life rafts." It's cheesy, sure, but it gets a real laugh out of Sarah, the kind that surprises her because she hasn't laughed like that in months. That moment, that tiny exchange, is the spark that starts it all. They start talking. Not just polite small talk, but the kind of conversation that feels like it's peeling back layers. Sarah mentions her pitch, leaving out the part about her sister, and Jake shares a story about a call that had him rescuing a kitten from a burning shed, carefully sidestepping the heavier stuff. There's an ease to it, a rhythm, like they've known each other longer than 20 minutes. But here's where things get interesting. Sarah notices something odd. Tucked into the seat pocket in front of her is a crumpled boarding pass. Not hers, not Jake's, but someone else's from a different flight, with a handwritten note scrawled on it. "Find the one who sees you." It's cryptic, a little creepy, and it sends a shiver down her spine. She shows it to Jake, half joking about it being a weird prank, but he gets this look, like he's seen something like it before. What's that about? Is it just a coincidence? Or is there something more going on? You're probably thinking what I'm thinking. This can't be random, right? Hold that thought, because this little note is about to open a door to a mystery neither of them saw coming. Now let's zoom out for a second and talk about the bigger picture. Because this story isn't just about Sarah and Jake. There's a subplot brewing, one that adds another layer of intrigue. Back in Seattle, Sarah's best friend Mia is dealing with her own drama. Mia's a photographer with a knack for spotting details others miss, and she's been digging into something strange about the agency Sarah's pitching to in New York. There are rumors, whispers on X and in industry circles, about the company being tied to some shady deals, maybe even a scandal that could put Sarah's big break at risk. Mia's been texting Sarah warnings, but Sarah's too focused on her pitch to take it seriously. Meanwhile, in Denver, Jake's firefighting buddy, Carlos, is wrestling with a secret of his own. He knows something about that failed call Jake can't let go of. Something Jake doesn't know, something that could change how he sees himself. These threads, these little ripples in the background, are starting to weave into Sarah and Jake's story, and they don't even realize it yet. It's like when you're watching a movie and you know the characters are walking into something bigger than they think. Except this is real life, and the stakes feel even higher. Can you feel the tension building? Like, what's with that note? Is it connected to Sarah's pitch, Jake's past, or something else entirely? You're not alone in wanting answers. I'm right there with you, and I promise we're getting closer. As the flight continues, Sarah and Jake's conversation deepens. They start sharing more. Nothing too heavy, but enough to feel a connection. Sarah talks about her love for old jazz records, a passion she picked up from her sister, and Jake admits he's been teaching himself guitar to unwind after tough shifts. There's a moment where their hands brush while reaching for the same armrest, and it's like the air crackles. You know that feeling when you meet someone and it's like the world shrinks to just the two of you? That's what's happening here, but it's not all hearts and rainbows. That boarding pass keeps nagging at Sarah. She tucks it into her notebook, trying to brush it off, but she can't help wondering who left it and why. Jake, meanwhile, is holding back something too. When Sarah asks about his worst day on the job, he deflects with a joke, but his eyes give him away. There's pain there, a story he's not ready to tell. And then there's the flight attendant, a woman with sharp eyes and a cryptic smile, who seems to linger near their seats a little too long, like she knows something they don't. Is she just doing her job, or is there more to her? You're probably starting to see the pieces of this puzzle, but they're not quite fitting together yet, are they? That's what makes this story so addictive. You want to know how it all connects, how these two strangers go from this moment to sharing a home. I'm not going to lie, there's a twist coming that's going to make you rethink everything, but you've got to keep watching to see it. Here's where I'm going to leave you hanging. Just for a bit. The plane's about to hit another patch of turbulence, and this time, it's not just a little shake. The lights flicker again, the captain's voice crackles over the intercom, and Sarah and Jake lock eyes, both wondering if this flight is about to take a turn they never expected. That boarding pass, those words, "find the one who sees you," are burning a hole in Sarah's mind, and Jake's got a hunch he can't shake, something tied to a memory he's buried deep. What happens next? Is it just a bumpy flight, or is something bigger at play? You're going to have to stick with me to find out, because this story of love, fate, and hidden truths is just getting started, And the next part is where things really take off. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's keep this journey going, because Sarah and Jake's story is about to get wild, and I know you don't want to miss it. Alright, friends, buckle up because this story is about to take a wild turn, and I know you're as invested as I am in finding out what happens next with Sarah and Jake. We left them in the middle of that flight from Chicago to New York, the plane rattling through turbulence, their eyes locked as the cabin lights flicker and that cryptic boarding pass with the note, "Find the one who sees you," sits tucked in Sarah's notebook, nagging at her like a puzzle she can't solve. The air is thick with tension, not just from the shaky flight, but from this growing connection between two strangers who, just hours ago, had no idea the other existed. You're probably wondering what that note means, why the flight attendant keeps giving them those strange looks, and how this all leads to Sarah and Jake sharing a home. Well, I'm about to crank up the stakes and throw in a twist that'll have you glued to your screen, because what happens next is going to flip everything you thought you knew about this story. This is the part where the journey gets intense, so grab a snack, hit that like button, and let's dive into the heart of this tale of love, fate, and secrets that are starting to unravel in ways no one saw coming. The turbulence hits harder this time, the kind that makes the overhead bins rattle and the passengers gasp in unison. Sarah's heart races, and not just because she's never been a fan of flying. That note in her notebook feels heavier now, like it's carrying a message meant just for her, or maybe for both of them. Jake, ever the calm under-pressure firefighter, reaches out instinctively, his hand brushing hers as he says, "Hey, it's just a little bump. We're fine." His voice is steady, but there's a flicker of something in his eyes. Maybe worry, maybe something deeper, that makes Sarah wonder what he's not saying. The captain's voice crackles over the intercom, announcing they're diverting to Pittsburgh due to a mechanical issue. Groans ripple through the cabin, but for Sarah and Jake, this unexpected detour feels like more than just bad luck. As the plane descends, Sarah flips open her notebook to check her pitch notes, and that's when she sees it. The boarding pass has another detail she missed before. A date, written in the same shaky handwriting as the note, and it's today's date, May 21, 2025. Her stomach drops. This isn't just some random leftover from another passenger. It's too specific, too deliberate. She shows it to Jake, who furrows his brow, his usual easygoing vibe replaced by a quiet intensity. "I've seen something like this before," he mutters almost to himself, and before Sarah can press him, the flight attendant, that same woman with the sharp eyes, leans in whispering, "You two should stick together when we land." It's not a suggestion. It's a warning. What's going on here? Is this flight, this moment, part of something bigger? You're feeling that chill down your spine, aren't you? Because I am, and we're just getting started. When the plane lands in Pittsburgh, the passengers are herded into a crowded terminal, told to wait for updates on a replacement flight. Sarah and Jake stick close, their conversation from the plane carrying over as they grab coffee at a terminal kiosk. Sarah's trying to stay focused on her pitch. She's got less than 24 hours to get to New York now, but that note keeps pulling her back. She opens up to Jake, just a little, mentioning her sister Emily and how she's been struggling to move forward since the accident. Jake listens, really listens, and shares a bit about his own loss. Not the full story of that fire, but enough to hint at the guilt he's carrying. There's a warmth between them, a spark that feels like it could grow into something more, but it's tangled up in this weird unease about the note and the flight. Here's where things get wild. While they're waiting, Sarah gets a text from Mia, her photographer friend back in Seattle. Mia's been digging deeper into the agency Sarah's pitching to, and she's found something disturbing. Posts on X about a whistleblower who disappeared after exposing the agency's ties to some sketchy offshore accounts. Mia's frantic, begging Sarah to be careful, saying, "This pitch isn't worth it. Something's off." Sarah's torn. She's poured everything into this opportunity, but now she's wondering if she's walking into trouble. Meanwhile, Jake's phone buzzes with a message from Carlos, his firefighting buddy, that's just as cryptic. "We need to talk about last year. It wasn't your fault." Jake's face darkens, and he shoves the phone in his pocket, clearly rattled. You're probably thinking what I'm thinking. These two are caught in something way bigger than a chance meeting, and the pieces are starting to connect in ways that make your head spin. Now, here's the twist that's going to blow your mind. As Sarah and Jake sit in the terminal, trying to make sense of everything, a man approaches them. He's older, maybe in his 60s, with a weathered face and a nervous energy. He introduces himself as Tom, a retired pilot, and says he overheard them talking about the boarding pass. "I wrote that note," he says, his voice low, like he's afraid someone's listening. "I left it on a flight last week, but it wasn't meant for you. Or maybe it was. He explains that he's been leaving notes on planes for years, little messages meant to inspire strangers, a habit he started after losing his wife. But this one? It's different. He says he felt compelled to write it, like some force was guiding his hand, and he's never seen one of his notes show up on another flight with the exact date before. Sarah's skeptical, thinking he's just a quirky old guy, but Jake's not so sure. He asks Tom if he's ever left a note with a specific name, and Tom shakes his head, except he hesitates, just for a second, and mutters something about a dream he had about a woman named Emily. Sarah freezes. That's her sister's name. How could he know that? Is this guy for real, or is he part of something bigger? Maybe tied to the agency, maybe tied to Jake's past? The terminal feels smaller now, like the walls are closing in, and Sarah and Jake exchange a look that says they're in way over their heads. Can you feel the stakes climbing? Because this isn't just about a cute meet cute anymore. It's about secrets, coincidences that feel too perfect, and a mystery that's starting to feel dangerous. Back to the subplots, because they're weaving into this story in ways that keep the suspense dialed up. Mia's digging has turned up a name tied to the agency. A guy named Victor, who's supposedly a big shot but has a reputation for playing dirty. She sends Sarah a blurry photo from an ex-post, showing Victor meeting with someone who looks suspiciously like the flight attendant from their plane. Sarah's starting to wonder if this diversion to Pittsburgh was really just a mechanical issue or if someone wanted them grounded. Meanwhile, Carlos's message has Jake spiraling. He's been avoiding the truth about that fire, but Carlos's words, "It wasn't your fault," are stirring up memories he's tried to bury. He remembers a woman at the scene, someone who thanked him for trying to save her family, but her face is a blur, and now he's wondering if there's a connection to Sarah, to this note, to everything. The terminal's buzzing with restless passengers, but for Sarah and Jake, it's like they're in their own world, piecing together clues that don't quite fit. The flight attendant walks by again, this time slipping Jake a folded piece of paper before disappearing into the crowd. He opens it, and it's another note, in the same handwriting as the boarding pass. "Trust her but watch your back." What does that mean? Trust Sarah? Trust the flight attendant? Or is someone else watching them? You're probably yelling at your screen right now, wanting answers, and I don't blame you. This story's got me on edge too. As the airport loudspeakers announce that their new flight to New York is boarding, Sarah and Jake are left with more questions than answers. Tom's gone, vanishing into the terminal like he was never there, and that second note is burning a hole in Jake's pocket. Sarah's starting to feel like her pitch, her career, her whole reason for being on this plane might be tangled up in something she doesn't understand. Jake's wondering if his past is catching up with him in ways he never expected. The chemistry between them is undeniable. Those stolen glances, the way they lean into each other's words, but it's layered with this growing sense of unease. Are they being pulled together by fate, or is someone, or something, pulling the strings? As they board the new plane, Sarah notices the flight attendant isn't on this flight, but there's a new face, a guy who seems to watch them a little too closely. Jake's hand brushes Sarah's again, and this time, he doesn't pull away. They're in this together now, whether they like it or not. But here's the kicker, as they settle into their seats, side by side again, because of course they are, Sarah opens her notebook one more time, and a photo slips out. It's of her and Emily taken a year ago, and on the back in Emily's handwriting, is a single word, believe. How did that get there? Was it always in the notebook, or did someone slip it in? You're feeling that goosebump moment, right? Because I am, and I'm telling you, this story's about to hit a whole new level. Keep watching, hit that subscribe button, and let's find out what happens when this plane lands, because Sarah and Jake are heading towards something that'll change their lives forever, and you won't believe what's coming next. Alright, friends, we're at the edge of our seats now, and I know you're dying to see how this wild ride with Sarah and Jake comes together. We left them boarding a new flight to New York after that eerie detour in Pittsburgh, with a cryptic boarding pass, a mysterious note saying, "Find the one who sees you," and a photo of Sarah with her late sister Emily, inexplicably marked with the word, believe in Emily's handwriting. The tension's been building, the stakes are sky high, and that electric connection between Sarah and Jake is tangled up in a web of secrets, coincidences, and questions that feel too big to be random. You're probably wondering how all these pieces, the shady agency, Jake's haunted past, that strange flight attendant, and those cryptic notes, fit together, and how two strangers go from a chance meeting on a plane to sharing a home. Well, this is it, the climax of their story, where the truth comes crashing down, the conflicts unravel, and a final twist will leave you stunned. So grab a drink, hit that like button, And let's dive into the heart-pounding finale of this tale of love, fate, and revelations that'll stick with you long after the video ends. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss a single second of this. As the new plane soars toward New York, Sarah and Jake sit closer than before, their shoulders brushing, the weight of everything they've been through making the air between them feel alive. Sarah's clutching her notebook, the photo of her and Emily tucked inside, and she can't shake the feeling that her sister's somehow part of this. Jake's got that second note, "Trust her but watch your back," folded in his hand, and he's wrestling with a memory that's starting to surface, something about that fire he's been running from. The new flight attendant, a guy with a too-perfect smile, keeps glancing their way, and Sarah notices he's got a tattoo on his wrist, a small symbol that looks oddly familiar, like something she saw in one of Mia's texts about the agency. She leans into Jake, whispering about it, and he nods, his jaw tight. "We need to figure this out when we land," he says, and there's a protective edge to his voice that makes Sarah's heart skip. Their conversation flows, but it's different now. Less like strangers chatting and more like partners in a mystery they're determined to solve. Sarah shares more about Emily, how her sister always believed in signs, in the universe sending messages when you needed them most. Jake, hesitant at first, opens up about the fire, admitting he lost someone, a young woman about Sarah's age, and how he's been carrying the guilt like a weight he can't put down. There's a moment of silence, heavy and raw, and then Sarah reaches for his hand, not saying anything, just holding on. You ever have one of those moments where you feel like you're exactly where you're meant to be, even if it scares you? That's what's happening here, but the plane's about to land, and the real storm is waiting for them on the ground. When they touch down in New York, the city's energy hits them like a wave. Horns blaring, lights flashing, the chaos of JFK Airport swirling around them. Sarah's supposed to head straight to her pitch meeting, but Mia's texts are blowing up her phone, warning her about Victor, the agency's shady exec, and a possible setup. Jake's got his own problems. Carlos has sent another message, saying he's in New York and needs to meet ASAP to tell Jake the truth about the fire. But before they can even grab their bags, the flight attendant from the second flight approaches, his smile gone, his voice low. "You're Sarah, right?" he says, and her blood runs cold. He knows her name. He hands her a small envelope, says, "Someone wanted you to have this," and vanishes into the crowd before she can ask who. Inside the envelope is another note, this time typed, not handwritten. "Don't go to the meeting. Emily knew too much." Sarah's knees buckle, and Jake catches her, his eyes scanning the terminal like he's ready to take on anyone who comes near. Emily knew too much? About what? The agency? Something else? Sarah's mind races back to her sister's last months, how Emily had been working on a freelance project for a big client, how she'd been secretive, saying it was sensitive. Could it be the same agency? Jake pulls her aside, his voice steady but urgent. "We need to get out of here and figure this out. Together." It's not just about their connection anymore. It's about survival, about uncovering a truth that's starting to feel dangerous. You're feeling that adrenaline rush, right? Because this is where everything collides. They duck into a quiet corner of the airport, and Sarah opens her notebook again, piecing things together. The photo, the notes, the date. It's all too much to be a coincidence. Jake finally spills the full story of the fire. A young woman died, someone he tried to save, and he's been haunted by her face, her voice thanking him even as he couldn't get to her in time. He pulls out his phone, showing Sarah a news article from the incident, and there it is, a blurry photo of the woman. Sarah gasps. It's Emily. Her sister was the one Jake couldn't save. The revelation hits them like a freight train, binding their pain in a way neither could have imagined. Jake's guilt, Sarah's grief, it's all connected, and that boarding pass, those notes, feel like Emily's way of bringing them together. But why? And who's behind the new note warning Sarah about the meeting? They decide to skip the pitch and meet Mia, who's flown to New York to help, and Carlos, who's waiting at a diner in Brooklyn. The four of them huddle over coffee, piecing together the puzzle. Mia's research reveals that Emily had been digging into the agency's finances for her project, uncovering a money laundering scheme tied to Victor. She'd been planning to go public but died before she could. The agency's been watching Sarah, thinking she might know what Emily did, and the flight diversion, the notes. It's all part of a plan to keep her from getting too close. The flight attendant? He's a low-level operative, someone Victor hired to keep tabs, but he's got a conscience, slipping them warnings because he knows what's at stake. You're probably reeling right now, just like I am, because this isn't just a love story, It's a conspiracy, and Sarah and Jake are right in the middle. The climax hits when they decide to confront Victor. With Mia's evidence and Carlos's support, they go to the agency's office, not for the pitch, but to expose the truth. It's a risky move. Victor's got connections, and the tattooed flight attendant warned them to watch their backs. In a tense showdown, Sarah faces Victor, her voice shaking but strong, demanding answers about Emily. Victor plays it cool, denying everything, but Jake notices a file on his desk labeled E. Harper, Emily's initials. They grab it, dodging security, and make a run for it, hearts pounding as they escape into the New York night. The file confirms everything. Emily had proof of the agency's crimes, and her accident might not have been an accident at all. Sarah breaks down, but Jake's there, holding her, promising they'll get justice. They go public, leaking the file to a trusted journalist Mia knows, and the story blows up on X, trending with hashtags like #JusticeForEmily and #LoveAndTruth. The agency crumbles, Victor's arrested, and Sarah and Jake find themselves not just as partners in this fight, but as something more. They move in together in New York, turning their chance meeting into a shared life, building a home filled with jazz records, guitar strums, and a love that grew from shared pain and purpose. You're probably tearing up a bit, aren't you? Because this is the kind of story that hits you right in the heart. Two people finding each other through loss, fighting for truth, and coming out stronger. But here's the final twist, the one that'll leave you in awe. Months later, as Sarah and Jake settle into their new life, they're cleaning out Sarah's old apartment in Seattle. Tucked in a box of Emily's things, they find a journal, and in it, a letter Emily wrote before she died. It's addressed to Sarah and it reads, "If anything happens to me, find the one who sees you. He's out there, and he'll help you finish what I started. Believe." Sarah's breath catches, and Jake's eyes widen. That exact phrase from the boarding pass, it was Emily's words, her way of guiding Sarah to Jake, to the truth, to this moment. Was it fate? Was it Emily's spirit, somehow orchestrating this from beyond? They'll never know for sure, but as they hold each other, the journal between them, they feel her presence, her blessing. It's a goosebump-worthy moment, one that makes you believe in something bigger. Love, destiny, the idea that the people we lose never really leave us. So, what's the takeaway? Life's messy, unpredictable, and sometimes scary, but it's those chance encounters, those moments of connection, that can change everything. Sarah and Jake didn't just find a home together. They found a purpose, a love, and a truth that set them free. Hit that subscribe button, share this story, and let me know in the comments. Have you ever had a moment that felt like fate? Because this story's got me believing, and I bet it's got you thinking too. Thanks for sticking with me, friends. Until next time, keep looking for the ones who see you.